Hi everyone, we are doing June 2023 and this is paper 3 variant 2. The first question says this that study shows that some dentists replace patients' teeth more often than is necessary. Which factor helps to explain why excessive dental treatment may take place? Well, clearly, doctors have more information than the patients, and as a result of that, there is asymmetric information. This is where there is a lack of information from one party, and the one party that has more information, they will exploit the other party, and therefore, this is a market failure. In the second question, this says is the diagram shows an individual indifference curve I1 for apples and pears. What can be concluded from the movement from point X to Y? If you're going from point X to Y, clearly preferences are changing in this case, but the total utility remains the same because you are on the same indifference curve. You're only preferring to have more apples than pears, and when you have more apples, you are sacrificing pears, which means since you are on the same indifference curve, the individual has not changed their utility, so the answer in this case will be B. In number 3, they say what is not necessary for successful price discrimination. So, in order to do price discrimination, we should have an ability to separate market. We should also have different elasticities in different market, because if you are unable to do so, you may not be able to charge different price, and then you must have a monopoly power, which means perfect competition cannot do price discrimination. Therefore, the right answer is price leadership. You don't need to be a leader in the market to do price discrimination. You could also be somebody who has some kind of a monopoly power to do price discrimination. In this question, they say the diagram shows the cost curves for a firm. What is the level of output below which the firm will shut down? So, guys, if you look at this question, when you look at firms shutting down, in the long run, we need to make a normal profit, which means price should be greater than ATC. But in the short run, price has to be greater than AVC. So you can see in this case, the price greater than ATC can only be possible if the price is somewhere here, because if the price is below this point C, or for this quantity, you will see you can make loss. In the short run, things would have been different. You would have chosen B because you have to have price greater than AVC, but in the long run, price has to be greater than or equal to ATC. So you need to make sure that you make a normal profit or more to continue to produce in the long run. So you shut down in the long run if your price is below ATC, which means point C. Number 5 says this: the steel producer X takes over its main competitor, steel producer Y. What would X expect to happen to the average revenue for his products and his long run average cost as a result of this takeover? Guys, when you are taking over another competitor, you'll also take over his demand. So your demand should increase, or your average revenue, which is demand, should increase. So that's one thing. Second thing is that because you're taking over another player, there could be possibilities of economies of scale. Remember, long run average cost could decline from point A to point B because you are now going to produce more. You are taking over a competitor, and therefore long run average cost may decrease, and the right answer will be C. Uh, that when you're taking over, you are probably going to achieve economies of scale, and you are also going to achieve higher demand. Number 6 says this: that which statement is correct? Well, the statement where social benefit should be equal to private benefit plus external benefit, and social cost is equal to private cost plus external cost. So let's see this. If you look at all these statements, if you look at C, we say social benefit minus external benefit is equal to private benefit. In other words, they have rewritten this and they said that social benefit minus external benefit is equal to private benefit. That's the right answer. Number 7 says, what can be done to help to overcome moral hazard? So now, if you remember moral hazard from our lectures, moral hazard is simply the idea that when people take up insurance, they may end up taking more risk, or when somebody buys something like insurance, they can start becoming more reckless. So one way to solve the problem could be to design your contract or insurance contract in a manner that insurance company and clients hear any loss, which means, like sometimes the car insurance that is given to you says this in the first year we may cover 100%, but as we go each year, the loss percentage or the damage percentage that we will cover will go down with time. So that could be one way to solve the problem of moral hazard, where the client is starting to take more risks just because they are insured. Guys, number 8 says this: which action would produce a positive externality of production? Remember, positive externality of production means something happens on the production side and not on the consumption side. If you look at C, if a firm is rebuilding a local road when constructing a new factory, that can be basically benefiting not only the factory because the access to the factory become better, but also people who live close by will have now a local road. Remember, the production externality has to be done by the producer. When he's producing something, automatically he's also causing a benefit to society. And C is that answer. If you look at a child is vaccinated, that's a consumption positive externality. So we need to be careful about that. For number 9, they say a privately owned sole supplier of gas operates in a unregulated market with high barriers to entry and exit. Which row is most likely to indicate the economic efficiency resulting from the firm's position in this market? In this case, we can see this that monopoly is being formed because it's a privately owned sole supplier, which means when you are a monopoly in a market with a high barriers to entry and exit, you will basically follow MC is equal to MR, which would mean you will not be um, allocatively efficient, which is basically where price equals to marginal cost. Remember, our demand curve for a monopoly looks like this, our MR looks like this, and therefore, if you look at your marginal cost, you will not produce where P equals to MC. You will produce at this point where MC is equal to MR, and as a result of this, you will be charging a higher price, quantity will be lower, and there will be economic losses that will take place in this case because of the fact that there will be issues where firms will be charging a higher price and produce lower quantities. So we will not be allocatively efficient. We will also not be productively efficient, which means producing at the lowest point of the ATC. So if this is my ATC, you will not produce at the lowest point of the ATC, you know, which could be somewhere here, which could be somewhere here. So as a result of that, the firm will produce probably where MC is equal to MR, which is where allocative and productive allocative efficiency will not happen. But you may be dynamically efficient primarily because as a monopoly, you could be producing something which could be beneficial for consumers, and therefore you are not allocatively and productively efficient, but dynamically efficient. Number 10 says a government increases the protection that patents offer to investors of new products and processes which barrier to entry in an industry are higher as a result of this. Well, patents are example of legal barriers. When we did barriers to entry, we discussed many barriers to entry. The legal barrier to entry is where the government gives a patent to a producer and that doesn't allow other producers to produce in the market. Number 11 says the table shows the firm's total cost changes as more workers are employed. What would be the effect of employing a third worker on the firm's average cost and its marginal cost? To find average cost, we simply look at average cost is equal to total cost over quantity. So that's going to be 1200 versus 1000 versus 900. So average cost is definitely decreasing. For marginal cost, I need to find out the difference in quantity over difference. So let's look at marginal cost. That's basically going to be 800 here, and that's going to be 700 here. So my marginal cost is also decreasing, and therefore the answer is A. In number 12, they say a government hopes to build an athletic stadium to hold World Games. The stadium would have high private and external costs, but it would increase national pride. So this is what we call your social benefit, uh, while this is what we call our private and external cost will be your uh, social cost. Why would it be difficult to use cost benefit analysis to decide whether to build a stadium? Well, the idea goes is that when you are using cost benefit analysis, it's very difficult to find the monetary value of these things. So when you're looking at a project like a public project like this one, it's difficult to find the valuation of national pride or any such externalities because although we may say that hosting the World Games or Olympics or World Cup could be increasing the national pride, but we don't know by how much. So therefore, that will be a problem to find out the cost benefit analysis. Number 13 says, what will lead the demand curve for labor to shift to the right? Well, the markup for labor can shift to the right because of many reasons. Number one is when MP goes up, uh, or when also price of the product goes up. So an increase in MP of labor will be the right answer.